My name is Imani, and I'm 32 years old. For the past 5 years, I've dedicated my career to Apex Logistics, a major player in the global supply chain based right here in Atlanta, Georgia. I started as a junior network analyst, and through sheer hard work and late nights, I climbed the ranks to senior systems engineer. I loved my job. It was complex, challenging, and I genuinely believed in Apex's mission to connect the world. My days were usually a whirlwind of optimizing network performance, troubleshooting server issues, and ensuring our vast logistics hub ran smoothly. We managed an enormous amount of data, from shipping routes to client inventories, and the integrity of our systems was paramount. I took immense pride in my work, knowing that millions of packages and countless businesses relied on our efficiency and security. It wasn't just a job, it was a responsibility I took very seriously. One Tuesday morning, while reviewing routine server logs, I noticed something peculiar. There were unusual spikes in outbound data traffic originating from our main logistics hub servers, traffic that didn't align with any known operational protocols or client activities. It was subtle at first, easily dismissed as a minor anomaly, perhaps a new software update or a temporary system glitch. I made a mental note to keep an eye on it, but didn't immediately raise any alarms. The next day, the patterns persisted, becoming slightly more pronounced. These weren't random fluctuations. They were consistent, almost rhythmic bursts of data transferred to external IP addresses that were completely unfamiliar to our network architecture. My professional curiosity quickly turned into a nagging concern. Our systems were designed with multiple layers of security, and unauthorized external connections were a major red flag. I began a deeper dive, cross-referencing the timestamps with our internal activity logs, trying to pinpoint the source. It was like searching for a ghost in the machine, an elusive presence that left faint digital footprints. My initial thought was a sophisticated malware attack, but the traffic didn't behave like typical malicious software. It was too precise, too controlled, almost as if it were a deliberate, authorized process. The more I investigated, the more unsettling the data became. The external applications weren't just consuming bandwidth, they were actively interacting with our core logistics databases, querying sensitive information. This wasn't a simple data leak. It was a two-way communication, a clandestine operation running silently beneath the surface of our legitimate business operations. My gut told me this was far more serious than a simple IT oversight. My immediate supervisor, Mr. Thompson, the head of IT operations, was a charismatic man in his late 50s, well regarded within the company. He had a reputation for being tough but fair, though I'd always sensed a subtle dismissiveness in his interactions with me. He often attributed my technical insights to women's intuition rather than my expertise, a microaggression I had learned to tolerate. He was a white man from a privileged background, and the power dynamics were always subtly present. I decided to compile a preliminary report detailing my findings and the unusual network activity, preparing to present it to Mr. Thompson. I believed he would be as concerned as I was, eager to identify and neutralize any potential threat to Apex's security. I spent hours meticulously documenting every anomaly, every suspicious IP address, and every unauthorized data query. My report was thorough, leaving no room for doubt about the severity of the issue. As I finalized the report, a chilling realization washed over me. The external applications seemed to be operating during off-peak hours, specifically when Mr. Thompson was known to be working late or remotely accessing the network. It was a faint whisper of a thought at first, a possibility I immediately tried to dismiss, but the evidence was starting to point in an uncomfortable direction. Could he be involved? I reviewed the access logs again, specifically looking at administrative privileges. The external connections were being initiated with high-level credentials, the kind only a few senior personnel, including Mr. Thompson, possessed. My heart began to pound. It felt like I was standing on the edge of a precipice, staring into an abyss of corporate malfeasance. This wasn't just a system glitch, it was a deliberate breach. The implications were staggering. If Mr. Thompson was indeed behind this, it meant a profound betrayal of trust, not just to the company, but to every employee who relied on Apex for their livelihood. It also meant that the very person I was supposed to report this to was potentially the perpetrator. The weight of this discovery settled heavily on my shoulders, a cold dread replacing my initial professional curiosity. I considered going over his head, but Apex had a strict chain of command. Bypassing Mr. Thompson without irrefutable proof could backfire, especially given his standing and my position as a younger, black woman in a predominantly white, male-dominated department. I knew I had to be strategic, gather undeniable evidence before making any move. My reputation, and potentially my career, depended on it. The next few days were a blur of covert investigation. I set up hidden monitoring scripts, capturing more detailed packet data and user authentication logs. I worked late into the nights, fueled by coffee and a growing sense of urgency, meticulously piecing together the digital puzzle. Each new piece of evidence solidified my suspicion, painting a clearer, more damning picture of what was truly happening. The external applications were not just accessing data, they were actively manipulating our logistics routing algorithms, subtly diverting certain shipments. This wasn't random, it was targeted, affecting specific high-value cargo. It was a sophisticated scheme, using our infrastructure for illicit purposes, a shadow operation hidden within the legitimate flow of Apex's business. The scale of it was far greater than I had initially imagined. I knew I had enough. The evidence was irrefutable, meticulously documented, and pointed directly to Mr. Thompson. My hands trembled as I compiled the final report, knowing that this was a turning point, a moment that would either define my career or end it. I had to expose the truth, no matter the personal cost. The morning I decided to confront Mr. Thompson, the air in my office felt heavy, charged with unspoken tension. I clutched the confidential report in my hand, its pages containing the undeniable proof of his illicit activities. My heart pounded against my ribs, a drumbeat of anxiety mixed with a fierce determination to do what was right. I had rehearsed this conversation 100 times in my head, anticipating every possible reaction. I walked to his office, my steps resolute despite the tremor in my knees. His door was ajar, and I could hear him on a call, his voice booming with the usual confidence. I knocked firmly, and he gestured for me to enter, finishing his call with a dismissive wave. He looked up, a faint smile on his face, a smile that quickly faded as he saw the serious expression on my face and the thick binder in my hand. "Imani, what's so urgent?" he asked, his tone shifting from jovial to slightly impatient. I placed the binder on his desk, sliding it across to him. "Mr. Thompson, I've uncovered some highly disturbing activity on our logistics hub servers. It's a severe security breach, and I believe you need to see this immediately." His eyes narrowed as he picked up the report, his fingers drumming nervously on the cover. He flipped through the pages, his expression hardening with each graph and data point he saw. The color drained from his face as he recognized the detailed logs, the IP addresses, and the timestamps. He paused on a section detailing the manipulation of shipping routes, his jaw clenching. The silence in the room stretched, thick and suffocating, punctuated only by the frantic beat of my own heart. "What exactly are you implying, Imani?" he finally said, his voice low and laced with a dangerous edge. He didn't look at me directly, his gaze fixed on the damning evidence. "I'm not implying anything, Mr. Thompson. The data is clear. Unauthorized external applications are using our servers for illicit purposes, and the access logs point to your credentials." I kept my voice steady, refusing to show any fear. He slammed the report shut, his eyes finally meeting mine, filled with a mixture of anger and cold calculation. "This is preposterous, Imani. You're making wild accusations based on incomplete data. Do you have any idea what you're suggesting?" His voice rose, trying to intimidate me, to make me back down. But I had come too far to falter now. "The data is complete, Mr. Thompson. I have meticulously documented everything. These aren't just anomalies, they are deliberate actions, compromising our network integrity and potentially Apex's reputation." I stood my ground, my gaze unwavering, refusing to be cowed by his sudden aggression. His face was now a mask of fury, his earlier composure completely shattered. "You, a junior engineer, think you can walk into my office and accuse me, the head of IT, of such a thing?" he scoffed, leaning back in his chair, trying to regain control. "This is insubordination, Imani. A clear attempt to undermine my authority. Perhaps you're mistaken, or worse, fabricating this for some personal gain." The veiled accusation stung, a familiar tactic to discredit me. I am a senior systems engineer, Mr. Thompson, and my only gain is ensuring the security and integrity of Apex Logistics. The evidence speaks for itself. I retorted, my voice firm. He stood up, towering over his desk, his face red with rage. Get out of my office, Imani. You're dismissed. Effective immediately. The words hit me like a physical blow, but I had anticipated this. You can't just dismiss me for doing my job, for uncovering a serious breach, I protested, though I knew it was futile. His decision was made, fueled by panic and a desperate need to silence me. Oh, I can, and I just did, he sneered, a cruel satisfaction in his eyes. You're fired, Imani. Pack your things. Security will escort you out. He then added, his voice dripping with condescension. And don't think for a second anyone will believe a word you say. A disgruntled employee, a black woman with a chip on her shoulder, making baseless accusations against a respected leader. Good luck finding another job in this industry, Imani. Your reputation here is finished. His words were a direct assault, weaponizing my identity against me. I felt a surge of indignation, but I refused to give him the satisfaction of seeing me break. I gathered my composure, my mind racing, already planning my next move. You can fire me, Mr. Thompson, but you can't erase the truth. And the truth has a way of coming out. I turned and walked out of his office, leaving him to stew in his own deceit. As I walked back to my desk, the eyes of my colleagues followed me, a mix of curiosity and discomfort on their faces. I could feel the whispers starting, the rumors already taking shape. I packed my personal belongings, a small box of memories from 5 years of hard work, feeling a profound sense of injustice, but also a quiet resolve. Security arrived promptly, 2 large men, their faces impassive. They escorted me out of the building, past the reception desk, and into the harsh daylight of the Atlanta street. I looked back at the imposing Apex building, a place that had once represented my dreams, now a symbol of betrayal and systemic injustice. But this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of a different fight. The days following my dismissal were a blur of shock, anger, and a profound sense of disorientation. One moment I was a dedicated senior systems engineer, the next I was an unemployed woman, branded as insubordinate and unreliable. The sudden void in my routine was jarring, replaced by an unsettling quiet that amplified my anxieties. I felt adrift, cut off from the professional world I had known. Mr. Thompson wasted no time in spreading his narrative. Within days, I started receiving polite but firm rejections from recruiters I had previously contacted for other opportunities. The message was clear: my name had been tainted. He had effectively blacklisted me within the local tech community, ensuring that my baseless accusations preceded any application I submitted. It was a calculated and cruel tactic to silence me. The isolation was crushing. Friends from Apex, people I had shared countless lunches and late-night projects with, suddenly became distant. My calls went unanswered, or conversations were cut short with vague excuses. I understood their fear of association, but it still hurt deeply to be abandoned by those I had considered allies. It felt like I was fighting this battle entirely alone. My family, however, was my rock. My mother, a retired teacher, listened patiently to my story, her eyes filled with a quiet strength. "Imani," she said, "a tree that bends doesn't break. You are strong, and you are right. We will figure this out together." Her unwavering belief in me was a lifeline, pulling me back from the brink of despair. I spent countless hours researching legal options, but the path ahead seemed daunting. Lawyers warned me about the uphill battle of suing a large corporation and a well-connected executive. They spoke of the high costs, the lengthy process, and the difficulty of proving discrimination when the stated reason for dismissal was insubordination. It felt like the system was rigged against people like me. The financial strain began to set in. My savings were dwindling, and the job market for someone with my reputation was non-existent. There were moments of profound doubt when I questioned if I had made the right choice, if speaking up was worth losing everything. The weight of Mr. Thompson's words, "Good luck finding another job," echoed in my mind, a constant, tormenting refrain. I tried to apply for jobs outside of Atlanta, even in different industries, but the shadow of Apex followed me. It was as if Mr. Thompson's reach extended far beyond the city limits, his influence poisoning every potential opportunity. The discrimination wasn't overt, but it was palpable, a silent barrier that prevented me from moving forward. One particularly low evening, I found myself staring at the wall of my small apartment, feeling utterly defeated. The injustice of it all, the blatant abuse of power, the racial undertones of his dismissal, not at me. I had done nothing but my job, upheld ethical standards, and for that, I had been cast out. It felt profoundly unfair. But then, a spark ignited within me. This wasn't just about my job. It was about integrity, about accountability, and about standing up against a system that allowed people like Mr. Thompson to operate with impunity. My mother's words echoed in my mind. You are strong and you are right. I refused to let him win, to let him define my worth. I started revisiting my notes, the detailed reports, the screenshots, the network logs. I knew I had the truth on my side. The evidence was compelling, even if the legal system seemed stacked against me. I needed a new strategy, a different approach to expose the truth. This wasn't just a personal vendetta, it was a fight for justice. My anger, which had initially been paralyzing, began to transform into a powerful fuel. It wasn't a destructive rage, but a focused determination. I would not be silenced. I would not be defeated. I would find a way to make Mr. Thompson accountable for his actions, not just for my sake, but for anyone else he might have exploited or dismissed. I started thinking about my skills, my expertise in network security and data analysis. Even if Apex had closed its doors to me, the world still needed cybersecurity professionals. Perhaps this forced sabbatical was an opportunity, a chance to pivot, to build something entirely new, something that was truly my own. The idea, once a faint whisper, began to take shape. The isolation, while painful, also provided a strange kind of freedom. I no longer had to worry about corporate politics or pleasing a dismissive boss. I could pursue my own path, guided by my own principles. It was a terrifying prospect, but also incredibly liberating. I would turn the setback into my greatest comeback. I decided to channel my energy into something productive. I began taking online courses in advanced cybersecurity and digital forensics, honing my skills even further. I immersed myself in the latest industry trends, determined to stay ahead of the curve. This was my time to rebuild, to rearm myself with knowledge and expertise. The fight was far from over. In fact, it had just begun. And I knew, with every fiber of my being, that I would emerge from this stronger, more resilient, and ultimately victorious. Mr. Thompson had underestimated me, and that would be his biggest mistake. Just when the weight of isolation felt heaviest, a lifeline appeared in the form of Marcus, a former colleague from my university days. Marcus, a brilliant software developer, had always admired my technical acumen. He reached out after hearing whispers about my dismissal, expressing his disbelief and offering his unwavering support. His call was a beacon of hope in a very dark time. Imani, I know you. You don't make baseless accusations, he stated plainly, cutting through the noise of doubt and rumors. Tell me everything. No details spared. His trust in me was a powerful antidote to the pervasive skepticism I had encountered. I poured out the entire story, from the first suspicious data spike to Mr. Thompson's venomous dismissal. He listened intently, asking probing questions, his mind already analyzing the technical aspects. Marcus quickly became my sounding board, my technical confidant, and my emotional anchor. He helped me reframe my situation, not as a defeat, but as a forced opportunity for a new beginning. You're too talented to be sidelined, Imani, he insisted. This isn't the end of your career, it's the launch pad for something far greater. You have the skills, the integrity, and now the motivation. He suggested a radical idea. Instead of fighting for my old job, I should start my own cybersecurity consulting firm. Think about it, he urged. You can offer your expertise directly to businesses, helping them secure their networks, prevent the very kind of breaches you uncovered. You'd be your own boss, beholden to no one. The idea was terrifying, but also exhilarating. The prospect of entrepreneurship was daunting. I had always been an employee, comfortable within the structure of a large corporation. But the thought of building something entirely on my own terms, where my integrity would be the foundation, slowly began to take root. It was a chance to reclaim my narrative, to turn a profound injustice into a powerful statement of independence. Marcus offered to help me set up the initial infrastructure, from a secure home office network to basic business registration. He even helped me brainstorm potential service offerings, focusing on proactive threat detection and data integrity audits. His enthusiasm was infectious, slowly chipping away at my lingering doubts and fears. We spent weeks meticulously planning. I leveraged my deep understanding of logistics systems, realizing there was a significant gap in the market for specialized cybersecurity consulting in that sector. Many logistics companies, focused on physical movement, often overlooked the digital vulnerabilities of their vast networks. This was my niche, my opportunity. I started small, reaching out to local businesses, offering free security assessments to build my portfolio and gain trust. My first client was a small warehousing company, initially skeptical but quickly impressed by my thoroughness and the insights I provided. Word of mouth began to spread, slowly but surely. The work was demanding, often requiring me to be both a technical expert and a business development manager. But every successful project, every satisfied client, was a small victory, a testament to my resilience and expertise. It was incredibly empowering to see my skills directly translate into tangible value for others, without the corporate politics or the dismissive attitudes. Meanwhile, Marcus continued to help me refine my legal strategy. He believed that the evidence I had gathered against Mr. Thompson was too significant to ignore, even if a direct lawsuit was challenging. "We need to find an angle that transcends personal grievance," he advised, "something that highlights the broader implications of his actions." We started looking for regulatory bodies, industry watchdogs, or even investigative journalists who might be interested in a story about corporate espionage and data manipulation within a critical infrastructure sector. The idea was to expose the truth through a different channel, one that couldn't be easily dismissed or buried by Apex's legal team. My focus shifted from merely proving Mr. Thompson's guilt to understanding the full scope of his operation. Why was he manipulating shipping routes? What was the ultimate goal of those external applications? Marcus, and I theorized that it had to be more than just personal profit. The sophistication suggested a larger scheme. This new path, though born from adversity, felt profoundly right. I was no longer a victim. I was a strategist, an entrepreneur, a truth seeker. The fire that Mr. Thompson had tried to extinguish now burned brighter than ever, illuminating a new direction for my life and career. I was building my own empire, brick by digital brick. I knew the journey ahead would be long and arduous, but I was no longer alone. With Marcus by my side and a growing sense of purpose, I was ready to face whatever challenges came next. The fight for justice, and for my own future, had truly begun. My new cybersecurity consulting firm, Sentinel Shield, began to gain traction, slowly but steadily. I poured every ounce of my energy into it, working longer hours than I ever did at Apex, but with a renewed sense of purpose. Each successful client engagement, each network vulnerability I helped fix, reinforced my confidence and reminded me of my true value. This was more than just a business, it was my vindication. While building Sentinel Shield, I continued to meticulously analyze the data I had secretly copied from Apex's servers. Marcus and I spent countless nights in my home office, poring over encrypted files and obscure network protocols. We were searching for the deeper meaning behind Mr. Thompson's external applications, convinced there was more to his scheme than met the eye. The initial analysis suggested data exfiltration and route manipulation for financial gain, perhaps to divert high-value shipments for illicit resale. But as we delved deeper, we started noticing patterns that didn't quite fit a simple theft operation. The data being accessed wasn't just about valuable goods. It included sensitive client contracts, intellectual property, and even competitor information. "This isn't just about stealing products, Imani," Marcus observed one night, pointing to a complex data flow diagram. "He's selling intelligence. Strategic, competitive intelligence." The realization sent a chill down my spine. Mr. Thompson wasn't just a petty thief, he was engaged in corporate espionage, using Apex's infrastructure as his personal data brokerage. The external IP addresses, initially generic, began to reveal their true nature. With Marcus's expertise in open-source intelligence, we traced some of them to shell corporations, but others led to servers located in countries known for state-sponsored cyber activities. This escalated the stakes dramatically. This wasn't just about Apex, it was about national security. I realized that Mr. Thompson's dismissal of me wasn't just about protecting his personal illicit gains. It was about silencing someone who stumbled upon a much larger, more dangerous operation. My identity as a black woman, easily dismissed and discredited, was merely a convenient tool for him to maintain his cover. He never imagined I would dig deeper. The more we uncovered, the more intricate and insidious the web became. The external applications were sophisticated, custom-built tools designed to bypass Apex's internal security protocols, creating backdoors for continuous data flow. It was a professional, well-funded operation, far beyond what one individual could manage alone. Mr. Thompson was clearly part of a larger network. This discovery fueled my resolve. My personal fight against Mr. Thompson transformed into a mission to expose a serious threat to national, economic, and potentially even physical security. I knew that if this information got into the wrong hands, it could destabilize critical supply chains and compromise sensitive national infrastructure. We started preparing a new, highly confidential report, not for Apex's internal review, but for federal authorities. This report would detail not just Mr. Thompson's actions, but the full scope of the data exfiltration, the foreign connections, and the potential national security implications. It was a risky move, but the only ethical one. Meanwhile, Sentinel's shield continued to grow. My reputation for meticulousness and integrity attracted clients who valued genuine security over corporate fluff. I hired my first employee, a young, bright cybersecurity analyst, and we moved into a small, functional office space. My business was thriving, a testament to my resilience. The irony wasn't lost on me. While Mr. Thompson was busy dismantling my career at Apex, I was building a stronger, more ethical one from the ground up, using the very skills he had belittled. My success was a silent defiance, a living testament to his misjudgment and prejudice. The evidence against Mr. Thompson was now overwhelming, meticulously compiled and cross-referenced. We had not only proven his direct involvement, but also uncovered the vast network of his co-conspirators and the true purpose of their operation. The surprise was no longer just a twist in my personal story. It was a revelation that would shake the foundations of Apex and beyond. I knew the moment of truth was approaching. The detailed report was ready, a ticking time bomb waiting to be detonated. It was a document that would not only clear my name but expose a dangerous criminal enterprise operating under the guise of legitimate business. The stakes were incredibly high, but I was ready. My journey from a dismissed employee to a thriving entrepreneur and an accidental whistleblower was almost complete. The hidden clues had led me down a path I never expected, transforming my personal battle into a fight for something much larger than myself. The next step would be the most critical. As Sentinel's shield gained momentum, so did the subtle attempts by Mr. Thompson to further undermine me. He continued to spread rumors, suggesting my new business was a front for something illicit or that I was simply leveraging stolen Apex data. These whispers, however, now fell on increasingly deaf ears. My growing list of satisfied clients and public speaking engagements at industry events were powerful counternarratives. My work in digital forensics, initially a personal pursuit, became an integral part of Sentinel Shield's offerings. I started publishing articles on cybersecurity best practices, drawing on my experiences without explicitly naming Apex or Mr. Thompson. These articles established me as an authority in the field, attracting even more attention in clients. My expertise was undeniable. The more public my profile became, the more desperate Mr. Thompson grew. He tried to initiate cease and desist letters, falsely accusing me of intellectual property theft related to my new business. Each attempt was easily dismissed by my pro bono legal counsel, a brilliant attorney Marcus had connected me with, who saw the clear pattern of harassment. These actions only served to highlight his own insecurity. The escalation wasn't just professional, it became personal. Anonymous threats began appearing in my email, vague warnings about knowing too much and staying quiet. I immediately reported them to the authorities, though I knew proving their origin would be difficult. It was clear Mr. Thompson, or his associates, were feeling the pressure. This pushback only solidified my resolve. The threats confirmed that I was on the right track, that the truth I held was indeed dangerous to them. It wasn't just about my reputation anymore. It was about exposing a network that was willing to resort to intimidation and potentially worse to protect its secrets. I refused to be silenced by fear. Marcus and I decided it was time to move our confidential report to federal authorities. We compiled a comprehensive package, including all the technical evidence, the financial trails, and the alarming foreign connections. We knew that once this information was in the hands of the FBI, there would be no turning back. The stakes were now at their highest. We arranged a discreet meeting with an FBI agent specializing in cybercrime and economic espionage. Presenting the evidence was nerve-wracking, but the agent's expression grew increasingly grim with each piece of information we revealed. The initial skepticism quickly transformed into serious concern as the full scope of Mr. Thompson's operation became clear. The agent assured us that they would launch a full investigation, but cautioned that these things take time and require absolute secrecy. He emphasized the sensitivity of the information and the potential national security implications. My personal battle had officially become a matter of federal interest, far exceeding anything I could have imagined. Meanwhile, a local investigative journalist, Sarah Chen, who had been following my public speaking engagements, reached out for an interview. She was intrigued by my rapid rise in the cybersecurity world after a mysterious departure from Apex. I carefully navigated the conversation, hinting at systemic issues without revealing the ongoing federal investigation. Sarah's article, From Corporate Casualty to Cyber Crusader, painted a compelling picture of my journey, highlighting my resilience and expertise. It didn't mention Mr. Thompson by name, but it subtly questioned the circumstances of my departure from Apex, raising public eyebrows and putting indirect pressure on the company. The article went viral within the industry, sparking conversations about corporate ethics and the challenges faced by women and minorities in tech. It brought Sentinel Shield a flood of new inquiries and cemented my reputation as a leading voice in cybersecurity. My public profile, once tarnished, was now shining brightly. Mr. Thompson, seeing my growing influence and the subtle shifts in public perception, became increasingly agitated. His attempts to discredit me grew more desperate and erratic, making him look less like a wronged executive and more like a man losing control. His actions were now inadvertently helping my cause. I knew the federal investigation was progressing, silently behind the scenes. The public attention, the growing success of Sentinel Shield, and Mr. Thompson's increasingly erratic behavior were all converging, creating the perfect storm. The truth, once hidden, was now poised to explode into the open. My journey had taken an unexpected turn, transforming me from a victim of corporate injustice into a key player in uncovering a significant national security threat. The stage was set for the ultimate revelation, a twist that would expose the full extent of the betrayal and finally bring justice. The call came on a crisp autumn morning, just as I was preparing for a major client presentation. It was the FBI agent. "Ms. Grant," he began, his voice serious, "we've moved in. Mr. Thompson and several others have been arrested." A wave of relief, potent and overwhelming, washed over me. The long, silent battle was finally over. The news broke like a bombshell across national media. It wasn't just about corporate misuse, it was about a sophisticated cyber espionage ring. The external applications I had detected were not merely for diverting shipments or selling client data for profit. This was the shocking twist. They were designed to systematically map and infiltrate critical logistics infrastructure across the country, providing real-time data to a hostile foreign intelligence agency. Mr. Thompson, it turned out, was a key operative in this network, recruited years ago and tasked with compromising Apex's systems. His seemingly legitimate external applications were actually backdoors, allowing the foreign entity to monitor and potentially manipulate supply chains vital to national security. The diverted shipments were a smokescreen, a smaller, more easily explainable crime to mask the true, far more insidious objective. The logistics hub servers weren't just being used for external applications, they were being weaponized. The foreign agency was building a comprehensive digital map of America's supply chain vulnerabilities, preparing for potential disruption or sabotage. My discovery wasn't just about a breach of company policy, it was about averting a potential national catastrophe. The revelation sent shockwaves through the tech industry and the government. Apex Logistics immediately launched an internal investigation, cooperating fully with the FBI. Their initial dismissals of my claims were now exposed as a catastrophic oversight, fueled by Mr. Thompson's cunning deception and the company's blind trust in a senior executive. My name, once tarnished by Mr. Thompson's lies, was now synonymous with integrity and acute technical prowess. The FBI publicly acknowledged my crucial role in uncovering the plot, hailing me as a national hero. The same media outlets that had once subtly questioned my dismissal now clamored for my story, eager to highlight my courage and foresight. Mr. Thompson's carefully constructed facade shattered completely. His arrogance, his condescension, his racist and sexist dismissal of me, all were revealed as desperate attempts to silence the only person who had seen through his elaborate scheme. He had underestimated me not just as an employee, but as an intelligent, determined woman of color who refused to be marginalized. The insubordination he accused me of was, in fact, an act of profound patriotism and ethical responsibility. The very qualities he had tried to suppress were the ones that ultimately brought him down. His downfall was swift and absolute, facing charges of espionage and treason, a stark contrast to the minor corporate infractions he had hoped to hide. The surprising twist was not just the scale of his crime, but the depth of his betrayal. He wasn't just a greedy executive. He was a traitor, willing to compromise his country's security for personal gain and ideological alignment. It was a chilling reminder that threats can come from within, from those we least suspect. I felt no triumph, only a profound sense of relief and a quiet satisfaction that justice had been served. The years of doubt, the isolation, the struggle, it all culminated in this moment of undeniable truth. My intuition, my expertise, and my unwavering commitment to what was right had been vindicated on a national stage. The next in my story was no longer an unknown. It was a clear path forward. My journey had taken me from a corporate cubicle to the forefront of national security, all because I refused to ignore a glitch in the system. The quiet engineer had become a sentinel, protecting far more than just data. The revelation reshaped not only my life, but also the perception of cybersecurity within the logistics industry. Companies realized the critical importance of internal vigilance and the dangers of unchecked executive power. My story became a case study in corporate ethics and national security. I knew my life would never be the same. The quiet anonymity I once cherished was replaced by public recognition, but it was a recognition earned through integrity and courage. The truth had set me free, and in doing so, had protected countless others. The aftermath of Mr. Thompson's arrest and the public revelation of the cyber-espionage ring was transformative for me. My phone rang incessantly with interview requests, speaking invitations, and inquiries from major corporations seeking Sentinel Shield's expertise. My company, once a small startup, was now a leading name in national security-level cybersecurity. Apex Logistics, humbled by the scandal, issued a public apology to me, acknowledging my integrity and the invaluable service I had rendered. They offered me a senior executive position, with full autonomy and a mandate to overhaul their entire cybersecurity infrastructure. While I appreciated the gesture, I politely declined. My path was now my own, and Sentinel Shield was my future. Marcus, my unwavering friend and partner, became the Chief Technology Officer of Sentinel Shield. Together, we expanded our team, hiring diverse talent from across the country, prioritizing not just technical skill, but also ethical integrity. We built a company culture founded on transparency, respect, and a commitment to protecting critical data, a stark contrast to the environment I had left behind. My story became a powerful narrative shared at conferences and universities, inspiring countless young women, especially women of color, to pursue careers in STEM and to never underestimate their own voices. I spoke not just about technology, but about resilience, about trusting your instincts, and about the courage to stand up against injustice, even when the odds seem insurmountable. I established the Imani Grant Cybersecurity Scholarship for underprivileged students, particularly those from underrepresented backgrounds who showed promise in the field. It was my way of paying it forward, ensuring that others had the opportunities one had fought so hard to create for myself. Education and empowerment became central to my mission. The discrimination I had faced, the subtle dismissals, and the blatant attempt to discredit me fueled my advocacy. I became a vocal proponent for diversity and inclusion in tech, pushing for equitable workplaces where talent is recognized regardless of gender or race. My experiences gave me a unique platform to drive meaningful change within the industry. My personal life also found a new balance. The intense focus on the investigation and building my business had left little room for anything else. But now, with the weight lifted, I reconnected with friends and family, cherishing the moments of peace and normalcy. I learned to celebrate my victories, big and small, and to embrace the journey. I often reflect on that day in Mr. Thompson's office, the moment he fired me with such contempt. He believed he was ending my career, silencing me forever. But in reality, he was setting me free, pushing me onto a path of self-discovery, unparalleled success, and profound purpose. His act of malice became my greatest catalyst. The next in my title, once a question mark filled with uncertainty, was now a bold declaration of my future. It was a future I built on my own terms, defined by my own values, and powered by a resilience I never knew I possessed until it was tested. I was no longer just a systems engineer. I was an innovator, an advocate, a leader. My net worth, both financial and personal, had grown exponentially. But more importantly, my sense of self-worth was unshakable. I had faced down discrimination, corporate corruption, and even national security threats, emerging stronger and more determined than ever. My journey was a testament to the power of one individual's courage. If you are watching this and facing your own moments of doubt, your own battles against injustice or dismissal, remember my story. Your voice matters. Your integrity is your greatest asset. And sometimes, the very challenges designed to break you are the ones that forge your greatest strengths. Never let anyone define your potential or diminish your worth. Trust your instincts, stand firm in your truth, and know that even in the darkest moments, there is always a next waiting to be written. What will your next be?